So, my dear brothers and sisters in Christ, I am hungry. I am sure all of us would have told this or at least felt this often in our lives, some more often than the others. But we are always hungry, and generally, hunger is associated with food. But there are also people who are hungry for power, for money, for lust, for everything else. They are also hungry. But today's readings are reminding us to look at God and to believe in Him as the one who can satisfy our inmost hunger. And that only God can do. There was a farmer who bought 3 puppies to take care of his farm. And he was giving them good dog food every day. But he realized and he noticed that 2 of the dogs were nice and chubby and fluffy, whereas the third one was very skinny. And he was thinking, why am I wasting food on the third one? So he started to give the first 2 good food. The third one, he'll give them the leftovers. And it was getting thin. And he was just leaving it that way. He was always paying more attention to the 2 good looking ones. So one day suddenly there was a fire in his barn. And he saw the 2 nice looking dogs running around shouting, and then they were barking and calling people. Where else the thin one, the moment the fire started, it ran out of the barn. He got more angry. This one is a real useless dog. See fire, only run. But after a few minutes he saw the thin dog coming back with a rabbit in the mouth. He got even angrier. This one is giving me more headache. But a few minutes later, he saw his neighbors coming there. And then the neighbors saw that his barn was on fire and they helped him to put out the fire. Only after that he realized that this dog, which he even didn't want to feed properly, he always looked down upon, that is the dog which actually knew what to do when there was a crisis in his farm. My dear friends, most of us make decisions based on results, and that is what God does not do. God doesn't wait for instant result. God waits for us to grow interiorly strong. The third dog which he neglected in the farm was strong interiorly. It knew what to do. It was hungering for faithfulness, although the master was not taking care of it. And today we have to ask ourselves, are we really hungering for God? Do we really want to meet Him? When you meet God, what do you want to say to Him? Have you practiced your lines? Do you remember the lines you want to tell God when you meet Him? In the first reading today, Prophet Isaiah, writing to the people in exile, is telling them, come, now why waste money on bread? Come and eat. This is free. You no need to pay. God Himself is providing us a meal. And this is because He wants to bless us according to the covenant He made with David. And this invitation was open to everybody. But even today, many people do not want to hear the invitation. They don't want to feel loved by God. And we come to the gospel today. Today's gospel is one of the interesting texts we have. This multiplication of the loaves, not miracle of the sharing. Some Bible translations are saying what happened there was when Jesus said the blessing, everybody blessed their food and they took it out from their bags and they started eating and then they had a lot of food. Wrong. John chapter 6 would say the people ate and the scraps remained from the 5 barley loaves filled 12 baskets. This multiplication of the load appears 6 times. This is the only story which appears 6 times in the gospel. Feeding of the 5,000 appears in all the 4, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. And feeding of the 4,000 with 7 loaves and a few small fish appears in Matthew chapter 15 and also Mark chapter 8. So there is a lot of importance in this meal by Jesus. For the Jews, of course, it reminds them of the manna God fed them from the sky. But for Jesus, it was a way of collecting back, bringing people together. And so this story today starts with Jesus withdrawing himself. He is going to a lonely place. John the Baptist has just been killed and he was worried for his own safety. So he was going away to spend time because he and John were cousins. John was the one who baptized Jesus, and the one who baptized Jesus is dead. I don't know how many of you will be happy when the priest who baptized you die. But Jesus was sad when the person who baptized him, who brought him into the ministry, died. And therefore he goes on his own. He goes to the desert. He goes to be by himself. But the people wanted Jesus. Jesus goes by boat, the people go by foot. They wanted to be where Jesus is. Many of us sometimes feel that now we miss the church. We cannot see Jesus in the tabernacle. Recently, a friend of mine was sharing with me something beautiful. He says, I cannot go into the church. The church is locked. The tabernacle is inside. But then I tell Jesus, Jesus, now I look at the church as a tabernacle. When I see the church, I remember you. I see you when I see the church. I think we have to also help ourselves during times like this. Don't always be thinking about what was done in the past. How are we doing it today? That is very important. And today we find when Jesus is doing this miracle, it is an involvement. It first involves by Jesus having pity on them and healing them. They wanted to be fed by Jesus spiritually first. Then only the disciples make the first move. They'll say, send them away. This is a lonely place. And Jesus tells them, you give them something to eat yourself. And they tell him, we have only 5 loaves and 2 fish. And Jesus tells them, bring them here to me. Bring them here. My dear friends, whenever we bring something to Jesus, miracles happen. At the wedding in Cana, they had only water. Jesus says, fill it, the jars. After that, what happened? The water became wine. Everywhere else in the story of Jesus, especially his miracles, it is always people giving what they had, and Jesus performs the miracle. Mary Magdalene looked for him at the empty tomb, and she found the risen Lord. The woman who was a sinner anointed Jesus, and then she received pardon and faith. Zacchaeus, because he was short, he climbed the tree to see Jesus, and Jesus gave him back his faith. Every time when we give God something, he repays us abundantly. That's why, my dear friends, today's gospel text, when we see the 4 actions of Jesus, Jesus first takes, and then he blesses, he breaks, and then he gives. The first one is God always takes us lovingly. We are not taken hurriedly, we are not crushed when we are taken by God, but God takes each one of us lovingly. He doesn't want to hurt us. He doesn't want us to feel pain when he carries us. And that's why sometimes we must believe what God is doing in our lives, whatever we are going through, he is still holding us lovingly. And until and unless we believe that this loving God always approaches us in a very merciful and compassionate manner, we will always play the blame game or the complaint game. Now, some people always blame others or blame themselves for whatever that goes wrong. They are always complaining. There are some people, we got complaint departments in all the ministries, but some people are the complaint department. They open the mouth or they open the eyes, they open their laptop, anything they open, it is nothing but complaints. This one is not right, that one is not right, or the blame game. This fellow is not right, that fellow is not right. People like this most of the time suffer from narcissism, self-love. You are not happy inside. You feel that God is not loving us, and therefore we always blame people. This person doesn't like me. When people don't do what we say, we don't like them. When people do something on their initiative, we condemn them. We always feel that everybody is not good. And this kind of attitude is really not good at all. It's demoralizing, it is self-destructive. So for those of us who always blame, for those of us who always complain, please check yourself. If you do not know whether you are blaming or complaining, ask your friends. If you want the best answer, ask your enemies. They will tell you all the answers. Am I blaming or complaining? They will tell you. These are the people who need to remind yourself, Jesus takes us lovingly. The second one is, after taking us, God doesn't put us down. He blesses us abundantly. Blessings of God are always in abundance. I have seen this many times in my own ministry. There were many times when I have celebrated Mass, and during Holy Communion I look at the host and I say, oh, today not enough. What to do? And just before giving, I always say, pray, Lord, please bless and multiply this. Make sure all your people get something and let them not go back empty. And trust me, it was never short. Even sometimes I get panic and I break. After that, when I see at the end of the Mass, there are still a lot left. Miracles happen, my dear friends. Sometimes we just don't see it. God blesses us abundantly every day. God is always not far from us. And the third one is, God also breaks us gently. This is where the problem comes. Most of us found that God abandons us when we feel our lives are being broken. When we look at St. Paul's letter to the Romans today, the second reading, we find something which many people use as an argument for not doing good. Because it says, nothing can separate us from the love of Christ. Does Paul says that? Correct. Paul does say that. Nothing can separate us from Christ. But then there is something which Paul does not say also. What Paul is writing to the Romans is, he is telling in the first part we read, trials and persecution and all kinds of afflictions. He says we are victors through this. Through these trials we become victors. These are the trials which we receive, which brings us suffering. The second part he says that no powers, whether life, death, principalities, angels, nothing can separate us from the love of Christ. Correct or not? Correct. So in the first part, Paul is telling sufferings cannot prevent us from or separate us from Christ. Second part is telling even life, death or external powers, things we cannot control, even that cannot separate us from Christ. But what is Paul not telling? If to know what Paul is not telling, we have to go to Galatians chapter 5, verse 19 to 21. Just before he speaks about the fruits of the Holy Spirit, where Paul says that we should not be led by the flesh. We should live according to the Spirit. And in verse 21, he will say, those who commit these sins, 19 to 21, he talks about the sins. He will say, will not enter the kingdom of heaven. So now we go back to Romans, today's reading. First part is suffering. Did he say suffering can go to heaven? Yes. The second part is external powers. Can go to heaven, can meet Jesus? Yes. Then what cannot? Sin. Paul never said we can commit whatever sin we want and that will keep us in line with Jesus. No. Sin can separate us and will separate us from God. And what is the difference between suffering and sin? Suffering is what we receive because of our own faults, because of the doing of others, because of the will of God. Suffering is what we receive. Then what is sin? Sin is what we commit, what we do to ourselves, what we do to others. That can create separation from Jesus. That's why, my dear friends, the third part today, when Jesus says he is gently breaking us, he is actually still holding us. So whatever happens to us today, even during Mass also, the time when I hold the host most tightly is when I'm breaking it. not when I'm raising it, when I'm breaking it. So if today we are feeling that we are going through a lot of difficulty, God is breaking us, God is really trying us, then we also must believe that God is holding us very, very tightly as well. He is very, very close to us. Whatever happens, He is gently molding us. And we have to trust that God is doing something. I might not understand it, but I know that God is doing something. So the first one was taken lovingly. The second one was blessed abundantly. The third one is broken gently. And the fourth one is given joyfully. We must give ourselves joyfully. During this time of COVID, these past few months, many people are very scared, and sometimes we teach people fear. But then we forget that the police are outside so that we are safe. The doctors and nurses are there to make sure that we are healthy, or those who are sick can receive immediate attention. If we truly care about the whole world, then everybody should go back home. Everybody sit at home. Then what do you think will happen? It will be chaos. Every situation, there is somebody who is giving joyfully. They are giving something. We might not be giving enough, but there are many people who are giving. Recently, I also met a lady who is going around to some of the flats here, and I asked, what are you doing every day? You're carrying bags. And she was telling me, there are some good people who donate food, 15 packets, 20 packets, or 30 packets, or they sometimes will give coupons where you can go and collect food at the restaurants. So what they do is they go and collect the food, and they go and give people who are lonely, who are alone at home, or even those who are handicapped, those who are old. These people are being fed by some people we do not know. Given joyfully. A lot of good things are still happening because somebody is taking the necessary steps to help others as well. While prudence and prayer is important during these times, my dear friends, but let us also remember the Eucharist is one which unites us. So as we celebrate this Mass today, in a very special way, we must pray in thanksgiving. We must pray in protection for all the healthcare workers, the doctors, the nurses all over the world, the policemen also sometimes who have to go out of their way. Regardless of how many hours they work, they are still sometimes there. And we have to thank God and ask God to bless these people, to protect them as well. And as we also celebrate this Mass, when we offer up the Eucharist later on, be united with the Lord. Say, Jesus, I want to receive you today. I want to get your blessings today. Because remember, we are taken lovingly, we are blessed abundantly, we are broken gently, and we are given for others joyfully.